Hello, can you hear me? Hello, hello.
Yes.
Okay, I think we can start now. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So, together we are here to unravel the mystery of leadership and explore the reality that each of us create. Welcome to Eros Alumni Sharing Sessions, Decoding Leadership. What reality are you creating? I am Tam Shui, and together with me is my partner, Lai Fu Zhen. We are delighted to be your host for this inspiring event. So our speaker today, Ms. Chai Han Ching, is a design engineer with Skychips and Remember Heart. Her journey in the professional world has been a testament to adaptability, leadership, and innovations. But it's not just about her impressive careers. It's about the unique experience and life lessons she gathered along the way. Her story is a testament to embracing vulnerability and the power of dynamic leadership, creativity, and inclusivity. So now let's dive into the exciting content that Hanqing has prepared for us today. I will hand it to Hanqing to provide a more detailed introduction about herself. Yeah, Hanqing.
So hello everyone, just to test with the host today, can you guys hear me fine?
Yeah.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, sure. So now I'll share my screen right now. So today, before I introduce myself, today as the topic as being like advertised by Eros is decoding leadership. What reality are you creating? So it's supposedly to be a 45-minute talk, and we have a 10 minutes Q&A session at the very end. But during the commencing of the talk, you can definitely type up your questions in the chat box, and I will answer them later. So most importantly, I wanted to make this more of like a sharing or interactive session. So yeah, you guys can be open and feel free to connect with me after the event. So let me share a little bit about me. My name is Chang Qing, and currently I'm working as a design engineer at Skychip. But my background from UTM is actually from electrical engineering, and I previously studied in architecture, which is quite a big transition, and currently working in the electronics or IC design field. Yeah, so this is a little bit about what I'm doing right now. Before I introduce a little bit of a past or background that I have in UTM and also in Eros. So currently what I'm doing as a design engineer is basically to implement microarchitectures or studying different types of research papers to meet specifications from customers from different industrial backgrounds and different countries. And they're going to request us to develop different types of IT or products based on their specifications. So yeah, we have to follow consortium types of specification open standards to design our solutions that has different types of flavor. So based on this part, a little bit more about my personal interest is I'm a passionate learner. I have been learning actively, and these are some of the things here that I have been doing for the past year since I joined university. I can't say that I've been an expert in all of them, but I think I have a good grasp enough to be able to work with people from the industry, and they have been seeking out for me to provide solutions for them, such as UI UX integration, creative arts, event planning, hosting, projects procurement, and I'm even part of a tendering process for certain companies. And those are some of the interests that I do rather than my formal work. And personally, I have been someone that's very appreciative towards creativity and also critical thinking. So other than my job as a design engineer and other than my formal career as a student back in UTM, I've also actively participated to create like a creative media marketing types of materials for people. And at the same time, I've also been create UI types of interface for different people to review before integrating into certain products that they may produce for their companies. So that's what I have been doing. And I've also been freelance designer for different people seeking out for my services as well. So that's a little bit more of my extra background and interest. And personally, I'm also someone that embraces new challenges, such as I've been joining different types of activities, events, case study competitions, as well as technical types of competitions, individually or as a team, and also seeking out or having different types of like collaborations with people from the industry that may invite me over to join their internship programs to maybe seek out whether that I want to be part of their company or not. So that is something that I have been actively embracing. So for the past many years. And lastly, I have been trying to connect with people. This is my personal interest and something that I've been doing constantly even until now, is that we have been empowering the circle of people around me that are like-minded. And we have been trying to create more and more types of awareness that we can make a change in our community or with the things, the interests or ability we have. And that is something that we have constantly been pushing through and that I myself have been believing in. So yeah, I think that's more or less a little bit brief background about myself, covering up everything before I actually give you the talk today about leadership. So basically, first of all, I wanted to start the topic about embracing vulnerability. So I'm going to talk more about adaptability, how your mindset and fostering trust and connections, and actually embracing that maybe I am weak at certain points of my life, or the things that I think that I'm very good may not be true. But all of these flaws about myself make me to become a better person, a better leader, a better listener, and also a better team player. So yeah, this is something that I wanted to link back why I have joined Eros back in UTM. So basically, I started to join it back in 2020, if I remember correctly. So during that time, you have to know that Eros itself has been a platform that provides people, especially from very various different educational interest background or even personalities, to merge together and form different types of teams under different projects. So if you all have actually looked up the website about Eros, we have like visions, our own missions, and the things that we trust in, the core values, which is listed below: innovation, entrepreneurial leadership, responsibility, and lastly is the teamwork stuff. So I was actually being attracted to join this club. So previously, as shown by certain pictures just now, I am constantly seeking out for a club that could merge with my very many and conflicting interests as an individual, because I'm someone in my life, I trust that it's not only that you have to only do the things that your educational background have been pushing you to, or your family members want you to do certain things. That's why I'm someone that has been planning out my life constantly, have been doing a lot of research on what steps should I take next to make the best out of the moment, maybe in terms of like security, finance management, as well as fulfillment of my own interests. So I was searching back then. I actually tried out different clubs such as Jajari or even Robocon. I've gone through like the whole competition stage and stuff. And definitely back then, I'm also as a new recruit into the university. I have no knowledge about robotics. I have no knowledge about how electronics or programming works at all. And yeah, that has been a very big drawback, because I still remember when I started joining the club, which is Robocon back then, we have to like design the whole robotic car by ourselves, like programming, electronic circuits and everything. It has been very hard for me, especially as someone at the same time that I have been having like a life outside of my university, as well as I have been like hosting certain events in the university. So it has been quite hard for me, and it has been a very clear wake-up call that at that time I am vulnerable in terms of technical stuff. And at the same time, coming from an electrical background, I actually wondered to myself, if I join Robocon right now, would it be something that is more useful for my future? And if I really join that, it would be a club that is actually quite busy. So would I be able to explore different types of interests related to myself? So that's a pondering question that I have. So coming by the end of the recruitment stage into Robocon, I actually declined the offer to join it and actually come into the recruitment of Eros. And this is the time where that I meet the president back then of our club. And I asked him like, what requirement or expectation would you have for me if I'm successfully being recruited? This one during the interview stage. And the club president back then actually told me that in Eros itself, it is kind of like having a very holistic approach. It's a maker space or maker hub for everyone, that they don't expect us to actually contribute, and they're not using any forceful methods to do that. But in terms of how we work as the team, is that all of us would actually have to voluntarily contribute. You can propose stuff, you can try to like find teammates together, and that's how I think that a lot of creative minds come together and in providing ideas and solutions. And I will demonstrate that later in this talk. So regarding the next part here is dynamic leadership. So I have been trying to bring this topic up inside as part of the alumni from Eros is because I would say that who I am today, the way I lead, the way I communicate with others, Eros has been a very part and important and crucial part in it. They have actually want me to like actively be motivated to be flexible in the way I communicate, to in the way that I have progress updates with everyone, and to actually have the right mindset and the way to engage every single person effectively to carry out effective solutions. So I would think that our club is quite special than other people. It's kind of like we have very, very dynamic departments. And inside every single department, we are trying to create a very safe space. As one of my favorite management theories is called Simon Sinek, he actually said that in the company itself, in the management, we actually have to make our employee feel safe by make our staffers into a circle of trust. And by that, I think building trust within different people, from my experience, is to actually have a responsibility to openly communicate with each other, to actually have like mindset towards the common goal. And most importantly, I think is to be present in the moment. So what our club as Eros has been doing constantly is that under us, we have three main different departments. One is called AI, which is artificial intelligence, IoT is Internet of Things, and lastly, ROS is robotics related types of stuff. So three of these has been collaborating, and you can actually choose your interested projects and actually develop your interest into a real ability that is able to be useful for you in the future. And we have been trying to create that safe space, that maker space, that everyone, you can be your owner of what you're doing inside of this club. And that's what makes us important. And I wanted to bring up a very, very, I would say, vulnerable situation back then when I was actually joining a competition called WeHack 2022. Yeah, so actually I joined that competition, and I explicitly show this image is back then I was a one-man team. And I brought up a very, very, I think it's complicated, but I think from my mentor's feedback, it's kind of good solution. But my mentor, this image actually concise everything down, is because by that time, the solution that I was proposing, my mentor wants me to show the screen about the timeline I have. And back then I show him, and he asked me like, your solution is good, but do you think you can deliver the whole presentation slide, the whole prototype, your whole idea by yourself in that very short period of time? I forgot how many days is it. I think it's around 1 week or a few days. I kind of forgot. But yeah, rather than other people having 3 to 4 team members, I was by myself. And by that very vulnerable position that I am in, coming from a background of like not into programming much, not into having a social circle of having like-minded individuals to form a team with, I actually didn't win that competition. But I think that is also another wake-up call for me, that we should never ever do something by ourselves if we are not like, how to say, a principal in that area. And we should always gather ourselves with people that are same like-minded, because some of the things I learned in life is that to make what you're doing, your work, easier is to actually have a whole other team of people that is able to communicate with you. And this is also another experience I wanted to say back then. is that because of all of this, I try to learn from my experience. And 1 year later, I actually started to implement like having team members for the competitions or the case studies or the events that I was attending. And some of it made a very big difference. You can see that from a one-man team, from winning nothing into a whole team of people working towards the same common goal is quite different. And this is something that I have personally gathered and learned. And that's why I wanted to introduce you into thinking more deeply into what's the difference this time. And I personally would have to bring up the question and the answers later on. So typically in a competition that I've joined, definitely we would have a pitching formula called as sometimes the cheat sheet here. This is some of the gatherings of my understanding is that we have to create this whole flow starting from the hook until the closing statement inside the competition. But one of the main reasons that I want you to take away from this is, yes, this is a template, this is a cheat sheet, this is a formula that you can follow through to maybe win your next competition like me. But that is something more crucial hidden inside here, that rather than having teamwork, rather than having communication, rather than having vulnerability, there's something more hidden inside that I will brought up later. So if all of you are actually aware during Unbox, if any of you have attended, Eros would actually have a whole session where that you have to undergo a recruitment or internship process before you're actually successfully being recruited based on your project performance. And that is also a time where that I have implemented this whole type of concept into it. And I wanted to say this again is because bringing back the topic about vulnerability, at that time, during the whole 1 month period, I was teamed up with another guy from software department, and I was doing database related stuff. So basically, the ideation that we have proposed is related to a whole web interface that actually constantly update people about the COVID-19. So back then, it was 2020, COVID hit hard. We have to like have every single learning asynchronously. And during that time, this was when Eros was having the recruitment that I am partaking in. So that's the reason that everything there was related to COVID. So basically, the solution that I was delivering is for people to have constant update about the website. But what really hit hard back then is that me and my teammate, we had a deal that I was the one doing the database management. He was the one that's doing the coding stuff for like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And I was having constant updates with my teammate until like the very end, the very last week, where that he has informed me that he basically did nothing and he decided to drop through it. So during that time, I was actually a little bit panicked because from my background, I only know a little bit about programming and I already had all the database set up, but there's no user interface for the people to communicate with it. So basically, I used a whole 1 week time to program up the whole website using JS, APIs, integration, some of those like AI stuff related into that website in a single week. And I could say that all of this is possible if you actually embrace that you cannot do something, have been actively seeking out, and has been actively seeking or link with people from the same circle. Like that time, one of the solutions that I actually did is going through websites, connected with people from like a very different tech circles, and they have been providing me solutions on what are the things that I'm able to do in that very short time frame. And these are some of the things that I wanted to bring up again. Is like embracing my vulnerability. I've accepted my flaws with my limitations right now, and I'm able to move on from them. And this is why I'm be showing, because customer lifecycle marketing stages is also about awareness itself. And this is something that I've been trying to relate with my experience from Eros into some of the case study competitions or even marketing and event planning that I have been actively doing right now, to see that you can actually bring all of this experience of those awareness, like wake up calls, back in a club, in university, into your real working life. So yeah, here comes my third topic, which is also related to the previous two, which is build a tower, build a team. So yeah, I have to admit that really back then, some of the reasons that I feel in, I wouldn't say feel, but to learn from my previous experience of managing different people from different departments, teams, or projects is that never, ever be too defensive. Because when you are defensive, you're taking every single thing they say to be literally inside the team. And to build a team successfully, like what I mentioned inside Eros, everyone is a team instead of a one person. And you would actually have to accept that there are people with different types of personality. There are people with different types of ideas, opinions about the things that you have suggestion. And maybe their way of communicating with you isn't the type that would be very holistic, or I would say they would want to like steer up a debate. So this is where I would want to mention back again that through Eros itself, I have actually harnessed and also have been practicing these skills about to be having disagreement, but at the same time to agree through finding common ground in the types of the goals and also respective achievements that we want to do in the end. So also at the same time fostering inclusivity from people that are from different background and also having different types of expertise among this diversity to make everything work. I am actually enhancing all of this over and over again is because when I transition into my working life as well as having professional life out of my like proper job, this is something that I find has been constant. Like programming, your technical skills, yes, it is quite important for an engineer, but at the same time, when you have actually reached up to a certain level, you would have to lead people in a way. And by leading, you would actually have to communicate with your higher ups, with your subordinates, and at the same time, you would have to foster everything into a clear, streamlined communication process with all of them to ensure there's like no mismatch, no arguments, and not most importantly, not creating an environment that is not safe for people to stay inside. So yeah, this is also another example that I would take away back from Eros is back in 2022 NIARC. We're actually joining with another 3 people. I was leading the team with 3 of my other friends. They are all in charge of different types of segments inside the competitions. And this is something that I wanted to share, like, rather than back then, I was actually contemplating my decision because I was actually commencing into my 4th year. I have to accept that I was quite vulnerable at that time, given that what I have to handle at the moment, the stress I have, as well as I'm going to have to ensure that we did well, because as shown here, you can see that our predecessors in Eros Alumni, as brilliant, as excellent that they have been like a serial competition winners for different types of events like this. And we have a predecessor in NIARC 2019. And back in 2022, we were actually, when I was stepping up to lead the team, I actually contemplated whether I could do something so well, given the responsibilities I have at the moment. And this was the time that I actually take a lot in on how to manage the team, what type of like communications hub that we can do. And all of this knowledge that I have been constantly practiced has been something that I have taken away from this moment or this phase in my life into my work or professional life. And it has been doing me quite well and been delivering very good processes. And it was all throughout this whole period of like of questioning myself, actually seeking approval from different people, actually trying to improve myself to lead better, that I was actually giving rewards for. And that's why that at the very end of the competition, we actually became another champion of it. And at the same time, I would say that over this like I think it's around 6 month long type of journey, I have actually gained a lot of things back then. And throughout this club itself, they have actually connected me with like-minded individuals to actually join competitions that are quite meaningful to me. And I have gained like technical skills, a long-lasting friendship, I would say, something to add into my resume as well. And most importantly, by the very end of the competition, I can see my face and my friend's face being published in like UTM News, as well as shockingly, when we attended another event in KL, it's an event for robotics. We actually see our whole competition details being published in the magazine, which was something like out of the surprise. And actually, some of the people from my inner circle, like professional circles, they actually reached out to me to congratulate me because they saw something like this. And I have been approached by people from industries such as Bosch, such as Sunway, such as for example Intel. They've given call that they wanted to interview me or even provide me a job opportunity after I've graduated. And I wanted to say that through a club like Eros itself, maybe you would say that this is just a university club that you're joining, but I would say that it's very different. If you really join, you really put in the effort, you really try to engage with different people, connect and put yourself out there, be vulnerable and try to learn, you would receive a lot in the end. And some of the examples I've listed, there is just a mere scratch on the surface of what I have gained through joining the club. So yeah, we are even published here in NI Penang. You can see us on YouTube. Wow. So that has been a very amazing moment in my life. And some of my supervisors, when they are looking through my CV or resume, they are even made aware of all of this. So I would say that this is only just a competition that I was made aware of and being engaged by our mentor by that time to join. And it has already brought me so many stuff. And you can imagine that in Eros itself, all of our members here has been very empowering, has been very people that keep on pushing each other towards like better common goal. So you can imagine the types of competitions we are joined, from case study towards hackathon, towards like technical robotic stuff or like programming related things. So all of this has actually made that our alumni itself, which is something that I have become today, to be very strong. And at the same time, we're trying to pass down all of this knowledge into like the future generations inside of our club. So yet again, what's the difference this time rather than like previously when I was started joining the competition versus at the very end, is that I am able to put myself out there and try to make a change. So yeah, most importantly, at the very, very end of some of the things that I've shown here, I wanted to relate to another new topic, which is also called as project management and the definition of success. So if you remember some of the examples I've showed earlier regarding myself not winning the WeHack 2022 and numerous other types of event planning or competitions that I failed and didn't manage to win at all, would I say that I didn't succeed? Or would I say my definition of success itself is because I win a competition or only become a champion? I would say that it's definitely up to you. Because I would say, like I constantly highlighted throughout my talks for the past like 30 minutes, has been that I had takeaways for every single step along the way. And Eros has been there to support me together with my teammates and other people. So I would say that there's nothing like failure. There's nothing for success. It's your own definitions of whether you have gained something or not, whether you define it to be based on you learn a new knowledge, or that you actually did something that you are able to try that you don't dare to be before. Because I wanted to say that up until this point, I have been constantly reminding that self, and something that stayed true with me is that what I feel is that I would think as a failure rather than bring back then, I joined a competition, I failed, I started event planning, I failed, I started a business startup, I failed, but that is not something that worries me today, but rather the things that linger or haunt me when I'm sleeping is basically, if I didn't take the step back then, what would it be like? What would my interest be today? And I could say that I landed my job starting from architecture into electrical, back into electronics and doing other different stuff outside of my work. It's because I have been trying constantly to put myself out there, try different things while I could in university. And that's where I come to find out what I enjoy in life. And the job right now that I've landed has been quite fulfilling for me. So I would want us to say that you have to try now if you have regarding all different skills you have, like technical, project management, how is your attitude, or whether you can handle stress in your university through Eros, or maybe other clubs if you want. But I would say Eros has been a good thing for me, is to actually learn from that while you have the time. Because some of the very common things when I'm working right now is a lot of my peers has been telling me that they don't feel fulfilling in their job. They don't really find something they like. They have been constantly switching their job without knowing what's next, without knowing what's their real interest. And I would say that I never had that problem or issue in my life because I have been constantly putting myself out there to try different numerous things through clubs and connections that I have. And like I said again, Eros has been a very good one with different types of tracks for us to try out. You can even initiate projects and try and engage with people from the industry, because one of our core values and our vision here is to actually become a student leading club in Malaysia. And we wanted to partake into projects with real industrial players. And if you yourself have been able to connect with a certain company for a certain project, for their sponsorship in terms of monetary value, fundings, equipments and stuff, it doesn't really matter. It's like as long as you try to take the initiative, you would be learning something. And through managing a project in Eros, or maybe through yourself, you could actually learn to manage everything. And this has been something that's quite useful in the work field. And I can assure you about that. So yeah, back to what I have been telling all of you, like what has been different. Like the example that I've given is like putting myself out there to be vulnerable. This has been something that I could relate from my experience back in university through Eros and other different clubs and events and outside of university into something that I have been having a very strong interest right now is doing case study competitions and analysis. And this is something that we have been carrying out in the consulting field itself, such as having first of all, you would have to have a question, initial hypothesis, analysis, confirm, falsify, and lastly, coming up with a solution is definitely trying to take if you don't like, trying to retry if you want a new thing. And this has been a framework that you can actually implement and try out in Eros itself. It's like this is something, it's like project management, you learn the skills. It's basically just a framework. You can apply in your life, you can apply in your job, you can apply even in like different types of fields such as case study competitions. You can see that the situation here has been quite similar in a sense that first of all, I put myself out there. I definitely face problems. I question myself on what are the complications that I face. I come up with an answer. And lastly, to confirm and falsify whether I'm interested in the field or not. So that's something that I think in my heart, that's why Arrow stand out. Rather than other clubs, is that I get to try all this while fostering very strong networks and connections with people at a very flexible schedule. So yeah, coming up with it, most importantly, we are able to communicate here using this type of structure that I would say, reasoning, deductive, based on the types of nature of the projects that you're coming up. So yeah, it all works together. And I personally has been carrying out something called as OSIR, or known as OSIR, by a lot of the industry standard. This is something that actually being practiced by the military back in US when they are actually building a submarine back then, if I'm not wrong with the background. But yeah, this is something that I have been actively implementing, and I think that Eros has been doing as well. Well, although they haven't really stated it out in the website or anywhere, but yeah, OSIR actually stands for objective, your situation, your issues, and recommendations. So these are some of the things that I would say has been implemented in our club. Because you can see, when we initiated a project in our club, we actually have an objective. We actually need to have like some of the status about what we're doing constantly, and we have to have like our issues. We have to identify it, because for example, you're coming to a board of directors and everyone just came there without knowing what came wrong with the whole project. So that is something that we have to learn to practice to identify what is the issue to effectively conquer it. And lastly, giving the recommendations based on the status that we are having right now, whether you are code green or code red or code yellow. So this has been something that I think if you join Eros, you can definitely try, as well as different types of clubs and activities and competitions out there, and bringing it into my workplace. So yeah, lastly, I wanted to say again, highlighting your ability and definitely not credentials. So this is something that I brought up in today's topic related to my club is because Eros itself, whether we are coming from different like programming, mechatronics, mechanical, it doesn't really care as long as you yourself has been taking the initiative to learn, to have like test different types of ability. Like I would say right now, at this current point of my life, because I joined the club and also my other proactive approaches, I have engineering design mentality. I am able to program websites as well as using artificial intelligence in certain implementations. And I'm also able to like have tendering, procurement, project management, UI UX, or even like event planning as well as creative media and marketing. So yes, my background is coming from electrical itself. I only have a degree in that. I don't have any others or like major minor ones. But in my resume, I could include every single one of it out and it could actually stand out. So yeah, you can see that our alumni here for the very past few years, we are quite a new club compared to like Robocon and but we have been having different types of people, members that has been actively engaging, partaking in competitions, and we have actually garnered skills that make us successful in making like in the job or career transition, such as some of our very famous alumni, Oscar here, which he transitioned from mechatronic into a consultant, and I personally knew another few friends that has been successfully transforming it from electronics into programming and vice versa. So I would say that throughout this club, you are able to practice your abilities, not just credentials, as well as building a very long-lasting network here with all of our friends, mentors, like different industrial players here. And lastly, I would want us to say that we are also being provided networking opportunities at the very end. So yeah, to sum today up, I would say that leadership itself, decoding it, is basically what's your definition of success, whether you are willing to make a change to build and communicate with your members in your team, and most importantly, never hold yourself back from trying anything at all. So yeah, since our club's recruitment is open, everything is there for you. Why don't you just come and join? Maybe you fail, but it's another takeaway for you and become one of us. So I think, yes, that's the end of my talk. Thank you.
All right. So thank you, Hanqing, for taking the time to share your invaluable insights, advice, and experiences, especially about your time in Eros. So with that done, now let's move on with the Q&A session. So participants, feel free to type your questions in the chat box and we will address them accordingly. Right. So while we are waiting for the questions to come in, maybe I can start asking one myself, if you don't mind, Hanqing.
Okay.
Right. So my question is, I'm genuinely curious as to how do you handle collaboration and communication effectively with so many other people in your team? Like, I want to ask if is there some sort of general guideline or rule of thumb that you follow specifically when you are communicating?
Okay. To be very honest, I want to say that I don't ever have an answer for that. Yeah, that's to be very honest, because really, if really coming to say that, when it comes to communication, it really started off with the type of people that you're communicating with, as well as the situation or the type of atmosphere that you have been creating in the club, as well as like the goal you're trying to achieve. I would give two examples here. First example that I personally have is in a situation that I've joined an event, and the whole motive of the event is actually to deliver something, but at the same time having fun. And another type of team that I lead before is actually we are very focused on like results driven, and it's really like based on the things that the customer would require of us. So when it breaks down to both of these things, the difference, your communication method would be very different. The first scenario that I listed here, where that you are trying to have fun while delivering a process, that would really boils down to whether you're having like enough understanding about your team member stress, their ability, whether that they are actually feeling open to communicate with you. So yeah, you would have to deal with that with like a more holistic approach of communications by engaging with them. But the second example that I've listed here is more to actually relate to, like, I would say industrial type of matter, whether you are actually being pushed to complete a project based on your specifications in a certain timeline. So the way that you communicate would rather be like towards a more I would say professional approach, stating out with like your objective of the goals that you're trying to achieve, what you're not doing right, what we're trying to improve, what we can do better, and we're trying to improve. So the way of, like, I could say the tone, your attitude, the way that you handle things, the way you remind them will be really different based on the method it has. But I would say effective communication has always been boiled down to make sure and ensure the other person has been safe to talk back to you. Yeah, so I would say that's my takeaway.
All right, thank you. So, there's a question in the chat box.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
all right. So, Haris asks if is your study time interrupted when you are busy doing the project?
Okay, I would want to say like in Eros itself, definitely I would say it comes down to how many projects you're handling, the schedule of the project, the things that you are trying to deliver, and lastly, most importantly, is your ability, your discipline, and your management. I would say yeah, I would have difficulty at times when I was back in Eros because for example, like the NIARC back then, I was having my internship. I was having some other side jobs back then, as well as my final year project is coming soon. I was trying to communicate with certain people from the industry, as well as at that time I was trying to lead a team for a competition. So yeah, at that very stressful moment, I would say that yes, it has been stressful, but it didn't really affect me much as long as you already planned everything out. It really depends on it because and as well as your personality. Because I have been someone that likes challenges, likes the feeling of adrenaline rush, the stress. So it has been quite fun for me. So it really depends. But definitely if you are still in your first to third year in the Eros without like before you're having your internship, you could always actively engage in all of those projects. And I want to say that as long as you are like using an hour or two every single day to like contribute to your project, it wouldn't be a very big issue because you have all those alumni and the supporting system back there to help you with it.
All right, and there's another question.
Hmm.
Ricky asks, I really love how you address the first point being embracing vulnerability. Do you have any tips for us to acknowledge, accept our vulnerability, move on, and improve without dragging the team's progress?
This is a very interesting question itself because I would say that I have become, I think I could say, good at what I'm doing is because I've been embracing it towards a certain type of method. Because first of all, I think that I'm good at certain things, or no matter I feel not good, I just put myself out there. And the first thing, definitely, you feel that you are not as competent as how you are. So you're vulnerable in that position. But rather than keep on having a mentality of blaming yourself or thinking that you couldn't do better, you couldn't improve, this is like the end of everything, you couldn't like further progress in it, you could just stop and contemplate in the moment and actually ask yourself, why am I not good? Why am I beaten up like this? Is this a forever situation, or it's just a very short period of time? And the first of things to actually have that consciousness of awareness that, and to admit that, yes, I am very bad at this. I need help. I actually need people to like validate my idea. So first of all, it's definitely the awareness stage, acceptance of it. Moving on is to actually validation stage, to seek out for help, to actually go and find people to collaborate with you if it's like your lack of teamwork and stuff, to find the solutions and validations through it. And lastly is to actually, by the end of everything, you have to have I would say, a reflection period on how you can take away from this experience, how to not put yourself in a vulnerable position next and move on from it. So I would say this is a general framework. But definitely, Ricky, you can study more online. I think that's a more general framework from more like like philosophies. They would actually teach you about how to train your mentality better. Yeah. So that's all from me. I think we will have sufficient time for last 1 to 2 questions.
Right. So don't be shy. Just ask your question in the chat box.
You can ask me everything, like anything related to career, your personal interests, how it relates and stuff, or more about Eros. Yeah, because we have quite a lot of members here if you want. But definitely, if there's no more questions from Fuzhen or maybe anyone, we can definitely add the meeting earlier, because like I said, Eros has been a very holistic club. We have been doing everything, like that. So Fuzhen, do you have any more questions?
Oh, there's one from Wesley.
Okay.
Do you have any role model that inspire and motivate you?
Yeah, I would say personally, like role model. I wouldn't say I have a certain role model throughout my lifelong self. I would say like throughout my learning process, I have been constantly changing my role model from a family member towards people from the YouTube. Like when I was trying to solve my problems related to engineering or mathematics in my university, the YouTubers, like the Indian YouTubers, has become my role model on how fast they solve something. So I have been someone that constantly changes my role model depending on what I want at that time, what I wanted to learn from them. And at certain times when it comes to like investment, Warren Buffett has become my role model, as well as a different people like influencers from Instagram. But yeah, I'm someone that has a very vast interest, so my role model constantly changes. But it depends on your personality. If you want your whole life to become a person, or you want it to become yourself based on your interests, to engage with different types of like content you're consuming, it really depends. Yeah. So I think that's all. And yeah, any more from Fuzhen? If no, I have a very last closing statement.
I don't have any questions left.
Hmm.
You
If
can
there's
proceed
no
with
more,
your.
okay. If there's no more questions for the people here, I will have a very last important message to say is that although today we have other different types of events and as well like recruitment ongoing in the university in UTM, but I wanted to thank each and every one for you to actually come back here to join in this session and to actually take an interest in Eros. And we really do welcome you to join us. Right, Fuzhen? Yep.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's all. Thank you.
All right, so now we will proceed with the photography session. So everyone, please open your cameras.
Oh, has you started the picture taking yet?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay, you'll count in 3, 2, 1. Okay, sure. I've
Yeah.
been freezing.
Right. So 3, 2, 1. All right.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for Eros for the opportunity. So I will leave now.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.